So, as you well know, this morning we have a guest, and she spoke with us last night as well, from an organization called Cherut North America. They exist in Israel, Europe, America, Canada. An organization that is dedicated to educating people about being proud Zionists and how to speak with those who have mischaracterized what Zionism is. Last night she talked about how Zionism became a dirty word and how we have to be proud and present and know how to present Zionism. They're an educational organization. They go around the country, around Israel, around the world, teaching about Zionism and how to tell its story. The head of this Cherut is Karma Feinstein-Cohen, and we want to thank the Harold E. Simon Foundation. Harold E. Simon, his children are here, David and Jennifer. He established a foundation for education, to educate about Israel, about Zionism, and to fight anti-Semitism. They have sponsored this program, and they have sponsored some wonderful, worthy things over the years in memory of their dad, and something they personally are totally committed to as well. So Karma has been long committed to the ideology of Zev Jabotinsky. You may not know who Zev Jabotinsky is, you may not remember, but I know you know who Menachem Begin was. Menachem Begin was Jabotinsky's successor. Jabotinsky was his mentor, so if you remember, was there ever a prouder Zionist than Menachem Begin, who defended the people of Israel, the state of Israel, and he was the most articulate prime minister we've ever had. So he was a great defender of the Jewish people and Zionism, and that's what Karma has followed, and that's what Cherut followed. She's played many, many different roles. She was through the World Zionist Organization, she was elected as a chairwoman of the Council of the World Zionist Youth Movements, the first woman ever to serve in that position. She moved to Israel when she was 11 with her family, joined the Israeli army, of course, when she reached that age, got her BA in political economics from Tel Aviv University, lives now in Israel, in Sha'arei Tikva, which is in Samaria, with her husband and her 2 children, travels around the world, educating about how to be a proud Zionist. She served as WZO representative on the board of directors of the Council to perpetuate the memory and the teachings of Zev Jabotinsky in the office of the Prime Minister of Israel. So it's our pleasure to welcome Karma Feinstein-Cohen to speak to us today about how is it we forgot how to tell the story of Zionism, of the people of Israel and the state of Israel, one of the greatest achievements, certainly in our history as a nation, but of any nation on the face of the earth.
Thank you so much, Rabbi. Again, it's an enormous honor to be speaking before this wonderful congregation. Shabbat Shalom to all. Those who heard me yesterday don't think I'm going to be repeating myself, because I won't, but I will give you another aspect of my childhood which brought me to understand why we are losing the PR war. As I said yesterday, and for those who weren't here, I am the daughter of a Hebrew professor, and my mother, may she live till 120, was a history teacher, Jewish history. 3rd or 4th generation to Hebrew teachers. My great-great-grandfather, you can Google, Avraham Asher Feinstein, in Belarus, in Pinsk, was already a Hebraist. He spoke Hebrew. They wrote in Hebrew. They wrote poetry. They wrote stories. I was brought up fully bilingual in Paramus, New Jersey. Okay, fully bilingual to this day. It is a blessing I cannot even explain. We're linguists in the family. I love languages, although I did go to study political science, and then I veered more to economics because I found that I had additional interests. I have always been a woman of words. Words fascinate me. My father, as a Hebrew professor, especially when we made Aliyah, would walk into a supermarket, and as a teenager, or a tween, 12, 13, he would come up to a lady standing on line, and he would say to her, Slicha geveret, excuse me, but you know you made a mistake in your Hebrew. Imagine what it's like to be a teenager standing next to your brilliant father, the professor, when he's correcting everyone online. But all he did was, he meant well, but I wanted to drop dead. Anyway, it was embarrassing, but it was okay. I learned to adore the Hebrew language. By the way, it's of sheer brilliance, and if ever anyone who wants to hear a lecture or a workshop on the origins of the Hebrew language and the revival of the Hebrew language, I'd be honored, because it's such a beautiful language. And it has taught me that words make a difference. Words matter. I told Rabbi on Thursday when we first met in person, because we met each other a long time ago, but I told him that I'm going to use the word matter a lot over this weekend, because words matter and our behavior matters. So words matter, and they matter a lot. I'm the type of person, and this I was taught by my father of blessed memory, that can wake up in the middle of the night to look up a word in the dictionary because I'm not certain that it was said correctly or that I'm going to say it correctly. Why are we losing the PR war? So I'm a nitpicker about words. I admit I am a nitpicker, but I wanted to understand this, and we'll get to it. But words make a big difference, because connotation makes a difference. And as it is said in Sefer Mishlei, in Proverbs 18:21, death and life are in the power of the tongue. Chaim v'mavet beyad halashon. When you say something, it makes a difference. Death and life are in the power of the tongue, and those who love it will eat the fruits. The tongue can bring death or life. Those who love to talk will reap the consequences, be they good or bad. This is in Mishlei. This is in Proverbs. We as Jews must understand this. Now, terminology throughout the ages of diplomacy, and I will revert back to the word diplomacy, are very, very important. Public diplomacy, diplomats. This started hundreds of years ago. Countries would send out representatives to speak of their countries, of their kingdoms, to bring queens and kings into different countries, to bring peace, to bring war. Words matter. Now, there's a word that we're not allowed to use today. We are not allowed to use the word propaganda, because propaganda has a negative connotation. But it didn't start that way. Propaganda has actually a religious background. It was to bring religious word to the public, to the general public. It became later on a negative word, so that's a no-no word. We're not allowed to use propaganda. So the Jewish people, with our disease of not, and we have a disease. We're our own worst enemy. Forgive me. I don't mean to offend anyone, but we have this major issue of not understanding what's rightfully ours. Life, freedom, equality, just like everybody else. Not better, but the same. Remember this, the same. If we deserve what everyone else deserves, why are we so apologetic? And you may ask yourself, where are we apologetic? So let's go to another term called advocacy. Advocacy, advocacy, advocacy. What is the root of the word advocacy? To advocate. What does an advocate do? What does an advocate do? What does a lawyer do? Defends. Who does he defend? Those who are wrong, or at least accused of being wrong. They may turn out to be innocent. But we start off very, very badly because we advocate. Now, today, if you look it up in the dictionary, it's called to promote. But that's not the origin of the word. Propaganda has become negative, advocate has become positive, and here we are, the Jewish people, constantly saying, I am sorry. I'm sorry. What was the first thing that we heard when the hospital was hit in Gaza? The IDF has murdered 500 hospital patients in Gaza. And this was a relatively good answer. Comes the speaker of the IDF and says, it wasn't us. It really wasn't us. But what do we do first? It wasn't me. I'm sorry. I didn't do it. I'm sorry. I didn't do it. Good grief. Psychology says if you want something and you come to your boss, you want a raise, okay? If you believe in yourself and you believe that you are worthy of that raise, and you come to your boss and say, I want this, this is what I deserve, chances are you'll get something. You may not get everything you ask for, but if you are confident and you come not demanding, but sure of yourself, confident. I, a Jewish woman, a Zionist, am confident of the Jewish people's right to the land of Israel, to live in freedom, to live in security, to be equal to other people, not to suffer hatred just because I breathe air. People like weak Jews. They like us when we're weak. David and Goliath. When we're David, we're fine. God forbid we should be Goliath. Then we're wrong. Do you think about it? How many times do we apologize? I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. I was sitting in a Zionist General Council meeting with very close friends of mine from the Zionist spectrum, from the most left to the most right. We're all Zionists, we're all friends. And there was a resolution put forward that said, it was about the curriculum in California, and Jews being a minority, and one lady got up and said, I can't vote for this. And it's like, why can't you vote for this? I have a problem with the terminology of Jews being a minority. Okay, minority is something in numbers. Minority is not an ideology. Literally, minority is something that can be tested numerically. Are we a minority? Are we a small group? She said, yes, you know, but we're white. Where do I begin? Okay, and then she said, and you know we're successful. So we're not really a minority. So not only are we punished because we're hated, but we manage to survive regardless of the fact that we're a smaller group and we're hated and we're years and years of anti-Semitism, and we have survival instincts that have been developed because we had no choice. So let's really get back at the Jews for surviving regardless of the fact that they've tried to eradicate, exterminate. How many times? Stop counting. So this is what we all live with. But why are we losing? First of all, we're all losing this together. But the state of Israel, the great and wonderful state of Israel, uses a term that was coined by Nahum Sokolov somewhere in the 30s. He was the president of the World Zionist Organization, which I am a proud member of. And they came with the galut, the exile mentality, even though they were already living in the land of Israel, even though they were already perpetuating Zionism. And what was his concept? Anybody ever hear the word hasbara? Hasbara, hasbara fellowship, hasbara this and hasbara that. What does hasbara mean? To explain, oy vey. To explain what? To explain my desire to be equal to everyone else? I don't have to explain anything. This is really cute. I keep on finding things on Facebook. We are done explaining our right to exist. Lovely. Too little, too late. Too little, too late. The state of Israel, where I live, where I'm a proud Israeli citizen, has a department, a ministry for hasbara, explaining. I mean, think of the psychology of this. Think of how crazy this is. The state of Israel is failing. It's not political. It's nothing to do with right, left, green, or center. Every government has had this. Since Sokolov, he coined it. We are going to explain that we have a right to be equal to other people. Does that make sense? Does that... Think about it. I wake up in the morning as an Israeli or as a Jew. Look, I'm really not that bad. I did not blow up that hospital in Gaza. It wasn't me, okay? I'm sorry. I will explain. I'm not going to explain anything. I'm going to stop saying I'm sorry. We have nothing to be sorry about. Are we perfect? No. Is there any nation that's perfect? No. In wars, there are casualties. Did we start the war? No. Do we want it to end? Yes. What nation wants peace more than we do? Give me one. One nation that desires peace more than we do. None. And yet, we are constantly explaining and apologizing. Stop apologizing. Stop apologizing. Stop using the word hasbara. I wrote a post on Facebook one day just to see. I think I got about 200 likes and about 20 or 30 reposts. But how many people out there, the state of Israel, and by the way, it's even failing at explaining. You know why? Because the state of Israel has to go to the boss or the UN or the rest of the world saying, listen, Cookie, no, we have a right to exist. Now you have the flip side of that. You have the extremists that go out and become bullies. We don't want that either. There is no need to be a bully. Jabotinsky said, be a normal people. All we want to do is be a normal people, like every other nation, a normal people. Yes, we will have criminals, like every other nation. We need every part of society. We need our teachers, and we need our mathematicians, and we need our lawyers, and our doctors, and our accountants, and we need our street cleaners, and we need our prostitutes. I'm sorry, yes, he said this. We need everything. Because in order to be perceived as normal, we must be normal. Don't be a bully. We're not superior, but we're also not inferior. And as such, we must stop using the word hasbara. Advocacy is not great either. I know it's hard, but how about public diplomacy? How about public diplomacy? How about something, or just being, just knowing that we have a right to exist and we have a right to be, just like everyone else. How many times have you seen articles explaining why this is a just war? Why there's footage out there from here to China showing the horrors of what happened on October 7th, and yet we're still explaining. And we're losing because we are explaining. If I could ask one thing of this wonderful congregation, is to go out of this room today and stop using the word hasbara and to stop apologizing. Apologize when we're wrong. Apologize when we're wrong. By the way, an interesting fact was when the United States decided to sanction a certain unit in the Army, I asked a simple question. How can you sanction an entire unit? If there are criminals, they have to be treated justly. They have to be taken to the Army courts, court-martialed, whatever has to be done. But you're going to sanction an entire unit in the military because of 10, 15, 20, 100 rotten apples? Throw the book at them. Make them pay for what they did. We can't have immoral soldiers, I agree. But we're not a collective bad. We're a collective normal. We're not a collective better. We're a collective normal because we have good and bad. And for the sake of Zionism today, please, please stop using the word hasbara. Start standing up for what is naturally ours. I beg you all to read, to look, and to look at things from my glasses. I only use them for driving, but assume that I use glasses for reading. Look at them through my eyes and see how people are constantly apologizing. Do not apologize. Please stop apologizing, for we are equal to every other nation. Thank you.
Toda Rabba. You know, it's true that, is there any country in the world that has to explain why it exists? Does France ever get up and to explain why this is the country of France? Does England do it? Does America do it? No country in the world has to explain why it exists. Exists, that's all, just exists. Other than Israel, other than the Jewish state. We shouldn't have to explain that. And we have to stand up proudly and answer forcefully. It's interesting to me that when you listen to the news, you read, you hear commentators, it is most often Gentiles in America who've stood up and said, Israel didn't start this war. The attack on October 7th was the worst since the Holocaust. It was total brutality, immorality, and inhumanity. And if there are civilians dying in Gaza, it's because of Hamas. And it's Gentiles saying that. We need more Jews to, instead of explain, just tell the truth. Tell it like it is, state the facts, because there are people who don't know the facts. We have to correct the... So this is what we're going to do. We're going to finish with Musaf, a really quick Musaf, right? He knows how to do that. And then we're going to have lunch. At lunch, you'll have the opportunity for an interactive session, right? We'll eat quickly, even while you're eating. Look, you sleep while I'm talking, so you can eat while she's talking, okay? So... we'll have there's too much laughter there. There's too much agreement, right? We'll have an opportunity to have an interactive, ask questions, and get even deeper into the topic. But this has been a very unique, different approach, which we needed to hear. And I'm sure a lot of people have questions. Some people will challenge and disagree because we're Jews. And we have to do, even if we can't have it that we all agree. That would be very embarrassing. We have to have a few people who challenge her, and she's up to the challenge. So quick.